What is up, fight fans? This is DJC Combat, and of course, we all know this weekend goes down the very underwhelming pay-per-view, UFC 293, taking place in Sydney, Australia. Very underwhelming card, and I'm not going to go over the whole main card. There's only like a couple of fights here that are actually worth going over, like the other ones. Tyson Pedro, Anton. I don't really care about that one. Neither do I care about Justin Tafa and Austin Lane. I was really excited to see Manal Kape versus Kai Kara-France, but we know how bad his luck is. No one ever shows up to fight him. So instead, he's fighting a newcomer, which I think he's a lock to win against anyway. But that fight's probably going to get canceled. But I want to talk about the co-main event, Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkov. And then, of course, the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland, because of course it's Israel Adesanya. That's a big name, so I always got to cover his fights. So I'm going to start with the co-main event, Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa versus Alexander Drago Volkov. Man, I had to do a lot of thinking on this one. Very difficult fight to predict. It's hard to know what will happen in the heavyweight division when you got two big guys with a lot of power. In the heavyweight division, all it takes is one good shot, and, that can end your night. But whenever I go against Alexander Volkov, either he proves me wrong or almost proves me wrong and makes me look bad, even if I'm right in picking against him, like the Curtis Blaydes fight. And he made me look stupid when I picked Rosenstrike to beat him, but then the same going for Tai Tuivasa. I don't have good luck picking his fights either. So I kind of feel like whoever I'm going to pick in this fight, I'll jinx. But right now, Volkov has a bit more momentum. I believe he's like on a 2-fight win streak. 2 finishes over Rosenstrike and I think Romanov. Whereas Tai Tuivasa is on a 2-fight losing streak with 2 brutal finishes to Ciryl Gane and Sergey Pavlovich, which he rushed the Sergey fight. He should have took more time off. But now Tai Tuivasa, he's had a good break after taking some severe damage in his last few fights. But he's got a tough matchup ahead of him in Tai Tuivasa or Alexander Volkov, because Alexander Volkov, very tall for the heavyweight division, 6'7". I mean, that's not like Stefan Struve tall, but he's still very tall and rangy, and that can be very difficult for a lot of these heavyweights to deal with. But not only is he tall, like he's packed on like a lot of size, a lot of muscle, so he's very physical as well. He's very strong. He has power, and I believe his striking overall is more technical than Tai Tuivasa. But of course, Tai Tuivasa has that equalizer with his power, with that big left hand. And he does have some devastating leg kicks as well, which he could use in this fight against Volkov. But Volkov is very good at checking leg kicks, and I think his overall kicking game is a lot better. And every time I expect Volkov to get clipped, he doesn't. When I expect him to not get clipped, he does, like the Black Beast. Well, I wasn't surprised with that one. I was very confident he beat Lewis. Lewis KO'd him last minute. I was confident Rosenstrike was going to KO Volkov. Volkov stops him in one. So do I go with the more technical heavyweight here who has the overall better striking, better kicks, better combinations in Alexander Volkov? Or do I go with the guy who just has the one-shot KO power that could literally end it all? And mind you, this guy held his own against Ciryl Gane. I mean, both guys did, but Tai Tuivasa dropped Ciryl Gane. And Ciryl Gane is very hard to hit clean. Ngannou couldn't catch him like that. Lewis couldn't catch him like that. Tai Tuivasa did. So it's not out of the question that he could definitely clip Alexander Volkov. I just think this fight's going to come down to who backs up first or who's able to impose their pressure better. If Tai is able to force Volkov off the back foot, that's where Volkov becomes the most vulnerable and the easiest to hit. But if Volkov is the one who is advancing, he's actually very hard to catch clean. And he's very effective on the front foot, just not the back foot. Tai Tuivasa, same thing. On the back foot, he's not that good. But when he's going forward, he's really good. Tai Tuivasa is also very athletic and fast. For a guy of his build, for his stature, he moves very well for a heavyweight, surprisingly. And I think he might even have a speed advantage over Alexander Volkov, which makes it very scary for Volkov in this matchup, because Tai will have the speed to close the distance, to land a big shot. And sometimes Volkov doesn't move his head off the center line. Like, his defense is not as slick as a Ciryl Gane. But I will go with Volkov in this fight, not with extreme confidence, because I can definitely see him getting knocked out. But I just think that he'll be able to hold his ground in this fight and keep Tuivasa on the back foot with, teep kicks to the body, use his long reach. And when he has his opponents against the cage, like I said, that's where he's at his best. And he might be able to, control the range just enough to prevent Tuivasa from getting in close while picking at him from the outside and just slowly but surely breaking him down. So I'm going to go with Volkov here. Maybe by a third round TKO. He might just break him down to the body, then go upstairs and then get a finish. But I could also see like maybe a very cautious and kind of boring decision. But if Tai Tuivasa does, decapitate Volkov, that won't shock me either. But I just feel like Volkov is the safer bet. But like I said, whoever I pick will probably end up losing. So put your money on Tai Tuivasa. I'm just kidding. Or am I? Now moving on to the main event of the evening, the middleweight championship of the world. The last stylebender, Israel Adesanya, taking on Strickland. That's his new nickname. This one's pretty straightforward. I got Israel Adesanya winning this fight. I think most people who think objectively have Israel Adesanya winning this fight. Now, I will give Strickland credit. He is a good fighter. He's very tough. His defense on the feet is pretty good. He's deceptively good, and he's a very well-rounded fighter, actually. And he does have good boxing, and he can grapple as well. His clinch game is good. His pressure is very effective and smothering, but the only problem with Strickland is his skill set is just very limited. He's very limited at what he does, and there's nothing that Sean brings to the table that Adesanya hasn't seen with or dealt with before. Like, you can't tell me that Sean Strickland is a harder fight for Izzy than Robert Whittaker was, even though he beat Whittaker twice. You can't tell me this guy's more dangerous than Alex Pereira or Yoel Romero back in 2020. You know what I mean? I felt like Izzy's dealt with and fought a lot of tough guys. Now, I know logic-defying moments can always happen in MMA. All of this could mean nothing, and somehow Strickland could get the upset. But I just don't think that's going to happen, man. I just think Israel Adesanya is just way too good. Way too clean, way too technical for Sean Strickland on the feet. And also much better fight IQ as well. Even though the stats kind of say otherwise, Israel Adesanya's striking defense is way better. He manages distance better. He can outstrike Sean Strickland at a range, pick him apart. But then even in the pocket, Israel Adesanya is deceptively dangerous and effective for a long fighter. If you get close to him, he's very good at landing those powerful hooks in tight. We saw him knock out Whittaker with that. Same thing when he fought Alex Pereira as well. Like, trying to make it dirty against Israel Adesanya is very risky, because if you get a little too overzealous against Izzy, he's very good at biting down on the mouthpiece, sitting down in his punches, and cracking you. So he can knock out Sean Strickland trying to get too aggressive. But then if Sean is too cautious, Sean Strickland will just get outstruck at a range. He'll just get picked apart and get his legs chopped down, by those vintage Israel Adesanya leg kicks. On the feet, Israel Adesanya has this all day. If Sean wants any chance of winning this fight, man, he's going to really need to mix it up, If he's going to try to make it dirty, he can't do it without level changes, If he's going to be aggressive with Israel Adesanya, he then has to mix it up. Go for a takedown as Izzy's bracing the counter, or try to get in the clinch, get him against the cage and dirty box Israel Adesanya. he has to take the grappling to Israel Adesanya because I just cannot see him beating the last stylebender in a striking match. But then even if he does try to grapple, we know how good Israel Adesanya is with his defensive grappling. He's shown countless times that his takedown defense is good. He can defend takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, even when guys are trying to get him down. And I don't think Sean Strickland's offensive grappling is really going to be enough of a threat to really force Israel Adesanya where he doesn't want to be. So Israel Adesanya can still defend takedowns if Strickland so pleases to try and wrestle in this fight. So really, how does Sean Strickland win? His chances are very, very slim in this fight. And Israel Adesanya, he's beaten guys that Sean Strickland has lost to. Israel Adesanya, he beat Jared Cannonier, who beat Strickland. And I know Alex Pereira has those wins over Izzy. But Israel Adesanya, in his last fight, knocked Alex Pereira out, who knocked out Sean Strickland. So there's levels. And Adesanya is a massive step up in competition from Abus Magomedov, who didn't belong in there with Strickland, and Nazardine Imavov. So stylebender all day. And still, I could see Israel Adesanya winning a comfortable decision in this one. But I can also see him finding the chin of Sean Strickland because Sean does leave them openings. We saw them again. We saw how Alex Pereira caught Sean Strickland when he was just marching forward in a straight line, trying to parry jabs and got clipped by a left hook. So Israel Adesanya can definitely plant that hook on Strickland's chin or maybe even find a question mark kick and get a knockout that way. But either way, I think Izzy wins this one. I think that Sean Strickland is just a warm-up fight for Izzy to get to the fight that we're all waiting to see, which is Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis. That's destiny. That fight is meant to happen, and you can't mess with fate. And I don't think Sean Strickland is about to, take that fight away from us. Izzy wins this fight, and then he goes on to fight Dricus du Plessis early next year. But with that being said, that's it for my breakdown and prediction for UFC 293. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button and peace out.